What if one of the most controversial cancer debates in America wasn't happening inside laboratories, but on internet forums, podcasts, and YouTube comment sections? What if a cheap deworming drug for animals became the center of a global medical controversy? A controversy involving cancer patients, doctors, scientists, pharmaceutical companies, and the most powerful drug regulator in the world, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. For years, one question has refused to disappear. Did the FDA ignore fenbendazole? Or is the truth far more complicated? Because behind the headlines, behind the viral testimonials, and behind the accusations of suppression lies a deeper story. A story about hope, desperation, science, money, regulation, and the dangerous line between experimental possibility and medical misinformation. Today, we investigate the controversy nobody can ignore, not with conspiracy theories nor blind trust, but with evidence, history, science, and the uncomfortable realities of modern medicine. This is the fenbendazole controversy. Fenbendazole was never designed for humans. It was developed as a veterinary antiparasitic drug, a medication used primarily to eliminate worms in animals, dogs, cats, livestock, farm animals. For decades, it existed quietly inside veterinary medicine. Cheap, generic, and unremarkable. There were no primetime commercials, no billion-dollar marketing campaigns, and no celebrity endorsements. It was just another routine veterinary drug. Scientifically, fenbendazole belongs to a class of compounds known as benzimidazoles. These compounds interfere with microtubules, structural components critical for cellular division, and that detail would eventually change everything because cancer cells divide aggressively, rapidly, and relentlessly, and some scientists began asking a dangerous question. If fenbendazole disrupts cellular structures and parasites, could it also affect cancer cells? At first, the idea remained obscure, mostly confined to laboratory discussions and preclinical research, but then the internet happened and everything exploded. No story fueled the fenbendazole movement more than the story of Joe Tippins, a man diagnosed with advanced cancer, a man who claimed he had little hope left. According to his public account, he began taking fenbendazole alongside other supplements after hearing about veterinary research and anecdotal reports, and then came the claim that changed the internet. His cancer appeared to go into remission. The story spread like wildfire. To desperate patients, it sounded miraculous, a cheap animal drug, a terminal diagnosis, a dramatic recovery. It was the perfect anti-establishment narrative. Millions began asking, if this worked, why wasn't everyone talking about it? Why wasn't the FDA fast-tracking it? Why weren't major hospitals testing it immediately? And in an era already defined by distrust toward institutions, suspicion grew rapidly. Soon, online communities exploded with testimonials. Some people claimed improvement, while others claimed stabilization, and others claimed nothing happened. But emotionally, the movement gained unstoppable momentum because cancer changes psychology. When survival is at stake, uncertainty becomes unbearable, and hope, even fragile hope, becomes powerful enough to override caution. Contrary to some online narratives, the scientific community did not completely ignore fenbendazole. Researchers had already been studying related benzimidazole compounds for years. In laboratory settings, some studies suggested these compounds might interfere with mechanisms involved in cancer growth. Possible pathways included disruption of microtubules, interference with glucose metabolism, stress on cancer cell survival systems, potential enhancement of oxidative stress. In simple terms, some laboratory evidence suggested fenbendazole might affect cancer cells under certain conditions, and this is where the controversy becomes complicated because laboratory evidence is real science, but laboratory evidence is not the same thing as proven human treatment. That distinction matters more than most people realize. A compound killing cancer cells in a petri dish does not automatically mean it can safely or effectively cure cancer in humans. Thousands of compounds have shown promise in preclinical studies, and most never become approved therapies. Why? because the human body is infinitely more complicated than isolated cells in a laboratory. Some compounds fail because they cannot reach tumors effectively, while others become toxic at therapeutic doses, and others simply stop working in real biological systems. This is the brutal reality of oncology research, and it is one of the reasons the FDA requires rigorous clinical trials before approving treatments. But to critics, that explanation wasn't enough. They believed something else was happening, something financial, political, and hidden. The Fenbendazole debate soon became more than a scientific discussion. It became cultural warfare. On one side, medical institutions, regulators, clinical researchers, and oncologists. On the other side, patients, alternative health influencers, independent researchers, and distrustful citizens. Each side accused the other of dangerous behavior. Critics of the medical establishment argued that pharmaceutical economics discourage investment in cheap generic drugs. Their logic was straightforward. If a compound cannot be patented profitably, why would corporations spend hundreds of millions on clinical trials? This argument resonated deeply online because historically, medicine has not always been free from financial influence. Drug development is extraordinarily expensive. Clinical trials can cost enormous sums. Pharmaceutical companies prioritize investments with financial viability. That part is true, but another truth also exists. The FDA does not simply approve drugs because internet testimonials exist. Approval requires evidence, controlled trials, safety monitoring, dose optimization, reproducibility, and statistical significance. Critics of the Fenbendazole movement warned of a dangerous trend, confusing anecdotal stories with scientific proof. A patient improving after taking a drug does not automatically prove the drug caused the improvement. Cancer outcomes are complex as patients often receive multiple therapies simultaneously. Tumors can behave unpredictably. Rare spontaneous remissions occur. Different cancers respond differently. In medicine, correlation alone is not enough, but online, nuance rarely goes viral. Emotion does, and Fenbendazole had all the ingredients of a viral phenomenon. Cheap drug, cancer, government distrust, big pharma suspicion, personal testimonies, and alleged suppression. It was destined to explode. To understand the Fenbendazole controversy, you first have to understand what the FDA actually does. The Food and Drug Administration does not invent most drugs. Its primary role is regulation. Companies, universities, or research organizations must generate evidence demonstrating safety and efficacy, and that evidence typically progresses through multiple stages. Preclinical research, Phase 1 trials, Phase 2 trials, Phase 3 trials, peer review, data analysis, manufacturing review, and safety surveillance. This process can take years, sometimes decades. Critics call it bureaucratic, while supporters call it necessary, and history explains why. Before modern drug regulation, dangerous products repeatedly entered the market with catastrophic consequences. Unregulated medicines caused poisonings, birth defects, deaths, and fraudulent miracle cures. Modern pharmaceutical regulation emerged largely because medical disasters forced governments to tighten oversight. So when critics ask, why didn't the FDA immediately approve Fenbendazole? The institutional answer is simple. There was insufficient clinical evidence proving safety and efficacy for cancer treatment in humans. But that answer leaves many people unsatisfied because they see another problem. If nobody funds the trials, how can evidence ever emerge? And now the controversy moves into even darker territory, the economics of medicine. Cancer treatment is one of the largest sectors in global medicine. The oncology industry generates hundreds of billions of dollars worldwide. Advanced therapies can cost staggering amounts. Targeted therapies, immunotherapies, biologics, and precision medicine. Modern oncology has achieved extraordinary breakthroughs. Some cancers once considered death sentences now have dramatically improved survival rates. But these advances are also extremely profitable. This creates public suspicion, and many Americans increasingly believe corporate incentives distort healthcare priorities, and to critics, Fenbendazole became symbolic of a larger fear. What if inexpensive treatments are overlooked because they are not financially attractive? It is an emotionally powerful argument, but reality is more complicated. Some low-cost drugs actually have been repurposed successfully. Examples of drug repurposing exist throughout medical history. Researchers continuously investigate older compounds for new uses. However, proving efficacy still requires expensive studies, and without strong evidence, regulators face enormous risk approving treatments. Imagine approving a drug based primarily on internet enthusiasm, only to discover later that it causes harm or fails patients who abandon proven therapies. The FDA operates under that pressure constantly. Approving too slowly creates accusations of suppression, while approving too quickly creates accusations of recklessness. In controversial cases like Fenbendazole, there may be no outcome that satisfies everyone. By the early 2020s, Fenbendazole had become one of the most discussed alternative cancer compounds online, but what did the scientific literature actually show? The answer: mixed signals, limited data, and enormous uncertainty. Some preclinical studies showed potential anti-cancer effects in laboratory models, but robust large-scale human clinical evidence remained absent. That distinction became the core battlefield of the debate. Supporters argued, why not investigate more aggressively? Critics responded, investigation is not the same as proof. Even some physicians sympathetic to repurposed drug research warn patients against assuming effectiveness prematurely because cancer biology varies dramatically. A compound potentially affecting one tumor type may fail completely in another. Dose matters, drug interactions matter, genetics matter, and timing matters. Self-medicating with veterinary formulations introduces additional risks, purity concerns, dosing uncertainty, toxicity risks, interactions with chemotherapy, and liver complications. Yet despite warnings, many patients continued because desperation changes decision-making. When people fear death, statistical caution often loses emotional power, and social media intensified everything. Algorithms reward emotionally charged content, not nuanced oncology discussions. A dramatic testimonial spreads faster than a cautious scientific review, and once a narrative gains momentum online, reversing public belief becomes almost impossible. One of the hardest realities in medicine is this: human stories are emotionally persuasive, even when they are scientifically inconclusive. A single testimony can influence millions, especially when mainstream institutions appear cold, bureaucratic, or dismissive. Cancer patients often feel unheard, processed, and reduced to statistics. So when someone says, "I took this and my scans improved," people listen, not because they are irrational, but because they are human. Hope is psychologically contagious, and online communities surrounding Fenbendazole became deeply emotional spaces. People shared protocols, supplements, dosages, success stories, failures, and warnings. Some believed they had discovered a hidden truth, while others feared vulnerable patients were being exploited by false hope. Both perspectives emerged from genuine emotion, and this is what made the controversy so explosive. Not merely science, but trust. Trust in institutions, in corporations, in regulators, in doctors, and trust in the internet. Modern society increasingly struggles with all of them. As Fenbendazole exploded online, a new economy formed around it. Influencers, alternative health personalities, monetized content, supplement stacks, and consultation groups. And here the story becomes even more uncomfortable because distrust of pharmaceutical profit sometimes blinded audiences to another reality. Alternative health ecosystems can also become financially driven. Fear sells, hope sells, and conspiracy sells. And some creators built enormous audiences by positioning themselves as rebels fighting hidden medical truths. The problem? Oversimplification. Complex oncology science was often reduced to emotionally satisfying narratives. Cheap cure suppressed. Big pharma hiding answers. FDA ignoring evidence. Reality rarely works that neatly. Medical history contains genuine examples of institutional failures, but it also contains countless examples of treatments that appeared promising early and later failed rigorous testing. The internet tends to remember miracle stories. It rarely remembers failed hypotheses. In cancer treatment, false confidence can carry devastating consequences. Some patients may delay evidence-based treatment, some may abandon therapy entirely, while some may spend precious time chasing unproven interventions. That is why many oncologists responded so aggressively against unsupported claims, not necessarily because they opposed investigation, but because they feared vulnerable patients could be harmed. To dismiss public skepticism entirely would also be a mistake. American healthcare has experienced real controversies, drug scandals, opioid crises, aggressive pharmaceutical marketing, pricing outrage, corporate settlements, and conflicts of interest. These events damaged institutional credibility, and once public trust erodes, alternative narratives gain power. The Fenbendazole movement did not emerge in a vacuum. It emerged in a society already questioning who controls medicine, who profits, who gets hurt, and who gets ignored. For many supporters, Fenbendazole represented more than a drug. It represented rebellion against perceived medical gatekeeping, a symbolic fight against centralized authority. That emotional dimension explains why the debate became so polarized. People were not merely arguing about pharmacology, they were arguing about trust itself. And trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild. Among oncologists, opinions on Fenbendazole vary. Some dismiss it entirely due to insufficient evidence, while others acknowledge the need for more research into repurposed compounds. A smaller number express cautious curiosity while warning against unsupported claims, but a common theme exists among serious physicians. Evidence matters. In oncology, treatments can determine life or death, and that responsibility changes everything. Doctors cannot ethically recommend therapies based solely on viral anecdotes. They need reproducible data, controlled outcomes, risk analysis, and long-term monitoring. And until rigorous clinical evidence exists, most mainstream physicians remain unwilling to endorse Fenbendazole as a proven cancer therapy. This position frustrates many patients, but from a medical ethics perspective, caution is not necessarily corruption. Sometimes it is responsibility. The difficulty is that suffering patients often cannot wait for years of research, and that emotional reality fuels the entire controversy. The internet transformed medicine forever. Patients no longer rely exclusively on doctors for information. Now anyone can access studies, forums, videos, alternative opinions, and independent researchers. This democratization of information has benefits. Patients are more informed, more engaged, and more empowered. But it also creates new dangers. Scientific literacy varies dramatically. Many people struggle to distinguish hypothesis from proof, preclinical data from clinical outcomes, anecdotes from controlled evidence, and correlation from causation. Social media algorithms reward certainty, not complexity, and the most confident voices often appear the most credible online, regardless of expertise. That environment allowed the Fenbendazole controversy to thrive because the internet does not merely distribute information, it amplifies emotion, and few emotions are stronger than fear of cancer. So did the FDA ignore Fenbendazole? The honest answer is more complicated than either side wants. There is legitimate scientific interest in drug repurposing, and there is real laboratory research involving benzimidazole compounds. There are real patients who believe Fenbendazole helped them. There are also enormous gaps in clinical evidence. There is currently no broad scientific consensus establishing Fenbendazole as a proven human cancer treatment. There are legitimate safety concerns, dose uncertainties, and interaction risks. There is a massive difference between worth researching further and proven cure being suppressed. Those are not the same claim. The internet often collapses that distinction, but reality should not. Could future research uncover therapeutic value? Possibly. Medical science evolves constantly, and many breakthroughs once sounded improbable, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and evidence requires rigorous testing. That process may be frustratingly slow, yet history shows why medicine cannot rely solely on hope, because false hope can also destroy lives. At its deepest level, this controversy is not only about fenbendazole. It is about authority. Who decides which treatments deserve attention? Government agencies? Corporations? Researchers? Patients? Or public opinion? Modern society increasingly struggles with these questions. Institutional expertise once held near absolute authority, but today, that authority is challenged constantly, sometimes appropriately and sometimes recklessly. The danger of blind institutional trust is obvious, but the danger of replacing evidence with viral emotion is equally serious, and the fenbendazole debate sits directly in the middle of that conflict. A collision between scientific caution and public desperation, regulatory standards and anti-establishment suspicion, clinical evidence and anecdotal hope. No matter where someone stands on the issue, one reality is undeniable. The controversy exposed a massive crisis of trust inside modern healthcare, and that crisis is not disappearing anytime soon. The future of fenbendazole remains uncertain. Research into repurposed drugs continues across the scientific world. Artificial intelligence is accelerating analysis of old compounds. Scientists increasingly recognize that some forgotten drugs may contain untapped therapeutic potential. At the same time, regulators remain cautious, and they likely will remain cautious until stronger evidence exists. The controversy may continue for years. New studies may emerge, new claims will appear, and new debates will explode online. But perhaps the most important lesson has nothing to do with one drug. It concerns how modern societies process medical uncertainty. People want certainty, especially when facing mortality, but science rarely moves in absolutes. It moves through probabilities, data, revisions, corrections, failures, and incremental progress. That process can feel emotionally unsatisfying, especially compared to viral miracle stories, yet remains one of harmony.